the power, the magic, the quirk to copy others' powers. How does Neito Monoma stand up to other power copiers? What is power mimicry anyways? Most stories involving battle, general fighting, competitions usually have someone who has the ability to copy skills. It's a great technique to have. Some have the superpower to replicate the powers of others. Sometimes, maybe it's an exact replication. Other times, they're able to take that power and make it stronger. But for story purposes or general balance, there usually are conditions or limitations that come with this ability, like needing the person or the source of the power to be nearby, or they can copy a limited number of powers. Monoma, for instance, can copy up to 4 quirks, although deceptively his outfit has 3 quirk-related pocket watches. Another limit or limitation is normally that there is a set duration of use for these abilities. For Neito, it's about 5 minutes for each use of his abilities. Other limitations of power mimicry, generally these people might gain the weakness of the source of their power. And lastly, and most well known, usually the power copier is not as strong as the original user. Monoma, for instance, can copy certain quirks, most quirks actually. There are certain kinds that he calls duds. These are the quirks that require certain accumulation of power or certain factors that he just can't replicate. He can copy bare bones of a quirk, but especially those that require accumulation or storage, he just can't replicate. He can copy the gun, but not the bullets. But it's not Monoma's quirk itself that reminds you of other power replicators, but his personality. Because generally with any story involving superpowers, there's usually a shorthand or a easy form of symbolism to have a power of someone match their personality, or vice versa. So, for a character who literally copies others, it's no surprise that Monoma is shown to be a little bit envious of those of Class 1A. He wants their attention, he wants their prestige. So of course this personality fits with a quirk that allows him to copy others with cool, powerful, interesting quirks and uses it against their owners. Kinda sounds pretty devious, which is also a characteristic of power replicators. For some reason, they're normally seen as manipulative or some form of tricksters based off their power's nature. It even fits for a variation of this power, those who can copy appearances. Sometimes just their appearances, but others, these people can not only copy appearances, but full powers. Still fitting within that deceptive category power replicators often find themselves, but Neito Monoma has demonstrated himself to be very adept in using misdirection, trickery, and mind games to gain the upper hand. He doesn't have the more straightforward ability, like Bakugo's explosion or Todoroki's ice walls. He works best with provoking and misdirection, using and developing his mind because he can't develop his body. Because of the fact that he can only copy quirks for 5 minutes, he can't rigorously train his quirk like his peers, besides increasing its length and maybe increasing the ability to copy more quirks. But his quirk is so dependent, he has to actually use his intelligence and cunning to quickly learn the special characteristics of the quirks that he copies. That way he can use them effectively. But like normal, that weakness is the strength of Neito Monoma and other power replicators, because these interesting limitations can lead to interesting workarounds. Most powers require secondary characteristics or secondary powers. You need to be heat resistant if you're gonna use fire. You need to be invulnerable if you're gonna use super strength. So for power mimicry or power replication, you need high intelligence. Whether it comes naturally or through experience, that depends on the character. You have to learn to use a new power as proficiently as its original owner. You have to be versatile and almost difficult to predict, capable of easily catching off opponents, beating them at their own game, which is why you often see these characters with power mimicry agents of chaos or master strategists. So Neito Monoma has the ability to copy other quirks, but is limited in the number of abilities he can store at a time, 4, and how long he can use them, 5 minutes, and lacks a general familiarity with his quirks and techniques because they're never his own. But he continually uses cunning and deception, whether it's through his words or his outfit, to win with whatever cards you've dealt him. And while he's envious of others, I kinda wouldn't mind his power. What do you think? Let me know down below.